All right, today we're building an air system for this 2013 RZR 900 XP Walker Evans edition, and decided to stick with the 3-inch PVC, or ABS I should say. And we're gonna go step by step and show you all the pieces that we used and the sizes for everything. Now I still got the exhaust here. Well, I'm gonna use the factory exhaust for the belt. That way it still dumps it over and cools the header, so I'm not going to change that. But you can see here we got a 2-inch to 3-inch coupler. You got to stretch this one just a little bit, but it'll go on there no problem. And then we get into some S-bends, which you can see it comes out, makes one S, another S, and another S. And the reason I chose to do this over the other ones you've seen where they stay inside is because I wanted to get my stack as close in this corner as possible, and also because if you plan on using 3-inch for the intake on your belt, you're going to have it over here because you're not going to have enough to bring your 90 and your another 90 and keep it this close, not if you stay 3-inch. So it's got to end up being over here, and all this means is you gotta, this is probably the hardest part, is making this cut, you know. But you use a piece of pipe, draw around, cut straight down with a hole saw, and you can make that happen. And then we come up to the top. We just got a couple bends there. This one's got kind of a unique top on there. I don't think this is factory, but it's kind of got a cut in here. So these will sit down in that cut in, which will keep some of the dust flying over the top. So that should work good. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this thing apart, lay it out on the table, and give you the exact measurements of every pipe that we cut. Talk about why we did it. We got a coupler down here because there's just that short piece of that 90 that comes up, and we want to be able to take this box off, so we need to keep that short. Over here we also put a coupler here for that same reason. This piece here, it's going to be all glued together, and the only coupler is up here at the air box, but we found that we could pull this out and drop it and get this whole thing out in one piece. And then we used a couple 22.5s to match the angle of the roll cage here and keep it nice and tight. So I think it came out real nice. There's no noise. I mean, we started it up and you don't hear any whistle or any of that stuff people complain about. My guess is that's because we're using a 3-inch pipe versus the 2-inch. And the whole thing I was trying to solve was, on this 900, they pull the air in for the belt drive on this side and bring it all the way across the engine, across to your exhaust header. So all you're doing is heating up that belt, and then it's dropping into the belt. So I wanted to get my belt temps down, and this will help. But the second thing that's going to do is, now that I no longer have this hose, which was the factory hose for the belt, it's no longer back in here. So that's going to let all that heat rise up, and you can see you've already got little holes that Polaris gave you. So it's going to allow more of that air to go up. And worst case, if I have to, I can just expand some of these holes, maybe cut them down a little bit and get even more, which will help with all that heat that goes against your back in the passenger seat. So all right, let's we're going to take this thing apart, lay it out on there, and we'll show you what all the parts are. All right, so we've got it laid out on the table. What's on the left side is for the intake of the belt drive, and on the right side is the intake for the engine air. So let's start with, this is the piece right here that you're going to make that's going to go on your belt drive, okay? This is going to be the intake for your belt. But there's one thing that we had to do. Now when you buy these street S's, right, so they got coupler on one end and this straight pipe on the other, they sell them in two sizes. They sell a short radius one and a little bit longer. And if I were to show you the difference, try to put them side by side, there they are. There's not a lot of difference, but you can see it sticks out about another ½ an inch or so.
Yeah, right there.
So it's mainly in this radius here. You want to get the short ones to do this part. And then what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to take this one that's going to go up against the engine, and you're going to cut half of that off right here, okay? And then you're going to take your coupler and normally it's got a place for the clamp on both ends. You're going to cut it right here on one side, and the whole reason you're doing that is so that you can get this to sit below the bed. So if I put this back on and I go all the way down and you look to the side, this is your bed height right here. You've got to get this part of the pipe right at that bed height or just below it, and this comes out perfect. So what you end up having is this much sticking above the bed, which is perfect for the coupler that you're going to put on, and that way you can have a smaller hole through the bed and lift the bed straight off. Okay, so that's that part. Put this back over here, and then what's going to, you're going to have your coupler, all right, that this is actually gonna hook onto. Okay, so you've just got a 3-inch coupler, and let's go ahead and pull this apart. So you've got your coupler, and then you're going to go into a pipe, and that pipe is about 8 1/4 inches long. All right, and then you're going to go into another coupler. Then you're going to go into a 22.5 street. Then you're going to have this piece, which is 17. Turn around right at about 17. Okay, and then you're going to go into another. This one can be actually the longer sweep. You can go long or short, whatever one you want for this street. I think we went long because that's all they had left. And this will be what sticks out at the top. All right, so that's going to cover everything you need. So basically you're going to need 2 shorts with a little piece of pipe in between there. These are going to be both streets. Okay, you're going to come into a coupler, right? Then you're going to have a pipe, 2 more couplers, 22.5, 17-inch long pipe. Okay, so that's all the parts. So I would say 3 by 3 couplers. About how long is that one?
7 1/4.
Okay, so
8 1/4.
8 and 17, 25 inches of pipe, 26, 26. So you're gonna need about 30 inches of pipe to finish the exhaust side. So if you get a 3-foot piece of pipe, you're good to go there. All right, get this out of the way. And now let's take a look at the intake side of things. Let's start at this end. This is the street that's gonna go right into this coupler. And there's a specific reason we did that. You're going to have to be able to remove this pipe in order to open up this box. So don't forget that. If you get the long street, it's actually going to hit here and you can't take it apart. But if you get the short street, when it's all the way in, it's tight, and then when you push it all the way out, it'll just clear here, which will let you open your box. So make sure you get the short street here. You're going to go into another short street, and you're going to go into a 3rd short street. And then this last one here, you can either go short street or you can do the long street. It doesn't matter. We did the long street because that's all they had, right? So we, with all these tied together, pushed in all the way, it fits in there exactly the way it needs to be. Next, you're going to come up with a piece of pipe.
Again, 7.
And again, that is going to be 11 3/4 inch long. And if you do that, that pipe is going to sit above the bed. Like here's the bed taken off, but it's going to sit right here above the bed at this level with the coupler. And the coupler will sit right on this lip, kind of holding all that pipe up. You know, we're also got a clamp we're going to put in there. And then you're going to come into the coupler, another 22.5 street. And then we're going to measure this pipe here.
Same length as the other one.
It should be the exact same length, which
16
is
16
1/4. All right, 16 1/4, 17. There.
Yeah, depending on your
Depending
top.
on where you measure it.
Depending on the top you have on.
So somewhere between 16 1/2, 17. You figure out exactly how much you want it, and then you come back into that top piece. So on this one here, so if you look at the engine intake, you got 1, 2, 3, 4 streets, 5 streets. Okay, so you're going to need 1, 2, 3 small ones, 2 regular streets, 2 pipes, 22.5, and the coupler. All All right, I'll put all this in the comments so you can get the exact part list, but that's what it's going to take to do this, and it comes out perfect. All right, so we will see you on the next. Okay, one final thing you're going to need to do is this is the back side. Get that up in there. All right, so this is basically the back side of where that goes in. You're going to need to put a 3/4 inch fitting in order to put your breather, your PCV. I don't have to cut anything. I'm just going to leave this thing exactly the way it is and just put it right on there. This will sit up in that little box V area you have. So this ought to work perfect. So all we did was use a step drill, drilled this in, got it to just about the right size, and this just threaded right into the ABS. So it should be good. All right, here's what it looks like before we put the box on. Again, we're coming through the coupler. We've got our S's, we come up, got our stand-up pipe here, got the exhaust coming around, and that's the exhaust for the belt. This is the intake. And just as a good idea, when you go to put these clamps on here, make sure you make one of them where you can access it through here, so if you ever have to take that off, you'll be able to do it without having to take the box off. The other one I faced forward up here so I could get to it behind the shock. All right, so now we're going to put the box on and put the rest in. Okay, so we got it all put back together, and this is what it looks like. I still have room for a couple of the action packers here, carry stuff in, throw a couple chairs in the back. But so here's what it looks like, and this is kind of what my goal was, to try to prevent losing as much bed space as possible. So with this one tucked up in the corner, all I'm really got is just a little bit of room right here that, you know, that it takes up. Fabricated a clamp up here just to kind of stabilize them. I mean, they don't move at all. And then down here below, let me just rig this up for now. I may do a better clamp eventually, but it doesn't move. But what I do want is I need the ability for it to slide in and out again, so you can get to this, take your box open here. So as you can see, I've got, you know, a couple inches here, so when you take that clamp off, you'll be able to slide this forward and be able to service the air box. The other important thing is being able to get to your belt drive, right? So the problem I was going to have going through the center part was that this bolt up here might have been covered or very close to it. So anyway, this one here, I can still get to that bolt and that bolt, and I've got enough room to pull this out and drop it down, so I can still get the belt cover off if need be. So anyway, it's worked out really well. What I have noticed, I went ahead and just kind of cut the center out of these foams that I had here, and I do feel hot air coming up through here, you know, when I'm riding or when I'm done riding. So it's done a pretty good job of helping let some more heat out. You know, again, you can't really take these out completely. These are just some pieces of foam that I cut, but because you need something that's going to hold these in, otherwise they get kind of sloppy. I'm afraid they might fall out. But yeah, it's worked out really well. Happy so far. Again, I don't really hear any whistling or anything. About the only thing I hear is when you really get on it, you hear a little bit of growl out of the intake for the belt, and I think that's just normal, you know, noises you're going to hear there. But no, very happy with this setup. Again, from the front, if you look, you know, you can just barely see the belt air sticking over the top. And again, I went with no filters at all on this top part, and that was by design. I understand you could get water, you could get bugs, you could get whatever, and that's fine. The belt drive is just going to spit it right out of there. and the air intake really isn't that big of a deal because you still got your filter down there. So I would, I don't know, it's up to you whether you want to try to filter that or not, but I don't want to restrict any airflow. I mean, my whole goal here is to reduce my belt temps and keep my intake air as clean as possible, because that's what kills these razors. So anyway, if you like this video, hit the like, hit the subscribe, let me know what I'm doing is beneficial to you, and I'll see you on the next.